Hello people. So, The Exorcist, the original 1973. 70s were not a good era for movies, if you ask me. Long, uneventful films, but okay. These two last for 2 hours, including credits of course, but who counts that? It's in paper it should not work, and it's not a good movie. The exorcism genre isn't very big. 1 or 2 dozen film at max. Even if you count everything, not the possession movie. We have countless possession movies, so that's another thing. Before anything else, Linda Blair was perfect casting. I recognize that. She has the innocent entering into the sexual age gestures and that kind of thing, and then she does that kiss tongue thing, and all that, probably with a prop, or I don't know. It's either way, it just works. She has casted as the possessed person. Everything else is trash except the last 30 minutes. If you chop down the credits, and it falls back to 20 minutes good stuff, so to say, but otherwise the editing is choppy. It's not even sloppy, it's just choppy. It's just cut entirely different stuff. There is absolutely no pacing. Like, we start with some excavation in the Middle East, Iraq, and then we switch without any innuendo why we are doing that to Mom, the character who I call Mom, because I don't remember the names, those were not important. She's a movie star and has a kid, Linda Blair as Reagan. They are living their lives, and there is this priest hanging around, and there are those other priests, and this priest has some relationship issue with his mother. Point is, this movie has 3 starting points, and neither does anything for a very long time. And that's the only thing that makes this watchable, because you are waiting for at least something promised that will happen. Not even something that will happen, but the promise that will happen. It's just, so you are just watching practically an empty screen where nothing is happening at all. And what is happening is choppy. So it's not just half-assed, but it's literally like the original book was probably at least mediocre and made sense, but this feels like a 500-page book, 100-page turned on here, 100 from there, cutting here and there. What are we doing? Like, the priest and his mother. What is that about? Because we see them in the mother's house, and I thought the priest lives with his mother, but then we are hearing he's living in an entirely different city, so how was he able to afford to visit his mother at all? But in the next scene, we see the mother brought into the hospital because she's old and got some mannerism, something. And in the very next scene with the priest, we hear that her mother died days before she could have been brought into the hospital. some part of the story is imaginary, happens in the head of the priest, or what? A huge part of the story is just missing, landed on the cutting room floor, either when they were writing the script or shooting the movie. What is even?
Uncle John passed by to visit me.
Oh, really? When?
Last month.
Too tight?
No.
Now, Mommy, you have to stay off it. You can't go up and down the stairs. Now, you have to give it rest.
Okay.
Mama, I could take you somewhere where you'd be safe. You wouldn't be alone. There would be people around. You know, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to a radio.
Άκουσα, Jimmy. Δεν πάγω πουθενά. Αυτό είναι το σπίτι μου. You understand me?
It's my mother, Tom. She's alone. I never should have left her. At least in New York, I'd be near her, I'd be close to her.
I could see about a transfer, Damien.
Mama, it's Demi, Mama.
Why you did this to me, Jimmy? Why?
Mama, I'm going to take you out of here, Mama. Mama, I'm going to take you home.
He's our psychiatric counselor. He had a pretty rough knock last night, poor guy. His mother passed away. She was living by herself, and I guess she was dead a couple of days before they found her.
And the old priest, who is literally the opening scene, for like 5 minutes, we hear about him after literally half an hour, 90 minutes. It's ridiculous. And he's on screen for what? 5 minutes for the entire runtime? What sold this movie? This is a Christian movie, so of course it sucks. The problem with Christian movies, because before you cut away, is the main goal is not to entertain. The main goal is to proselytize. So the characters of a Christian movie are negligible. The story, the Christian story, is negligible. That is why the Bible doesn't make sense as a continuous story. Because one thing is important in a Christian, or if you want, religious work: God. And we are not interested in that. Because, we grew out of that. We grew up, left behind the childish things, or grew up without that. So, what is left for us who are not practicing Christians is a big pile of nothing. Choppy editing, broken stories, non-existent characters. Like, not even story plot point are used. There is a big kind of subplot that Reagan wants to break out from the possession of this evil force, which calls itself in the movie only once Satan. In the book I heard it calls itself Pazuzu or something, but that word is not in this movie. So moving on. The point is, in one of the trances, Reagan speaks backward, and the priest records it, and the technician points out that this is English but backward, and plays it backward, and we hear the demon is worrying about certain Father Merlin, or and right after that the priest is convinced that he needs an exorcism allowed, so goes to the cardinal and asks the permission, and doesn't mention Mary. Why not? This is a freaking obvious and basic plot point. Easy to use. It writes itself. When the cardinal says, you can do it yourself, you need someone else has to do it, or the priest needs help. It's not entirely clear. It doesn't matter because they will do it together. But why not mention that? Oh, maybe you heard about Father Marin. You know, I heard rumors that he has knowledge about this exorcism stuff in practice or something. You know, it's weak. It's weaker than weak. The same thing with Mother. Where are we? Was she dead? Did time pass? The fact that this movie sold is that it came out at the perfect time when there was a satanic panic and people still believe they are Christian. So they got offended by, this somewhat mockery, but, we are on the Exorcist side, so we deal with that and we will conquer this evil force, the devil, or whatever you want. It talks to them. So, despite this being a choppy movie, it hit its target audience. It was perfectly fine. Does it stand out as a horror movie or stand as a today as a movie? No, it does not. It freaking does not. It's not scary. It is not working as a movie. It is not working as horror. But when it was out, it found its target audience. But did it? Nostalgia is hell of a drug. And this movie has a serious Mandela effect in it. What is its Mandela problem? It is that if you watch up some reviews, and a professional reviewer would cut in a lot of review seconds here, telling you the same thing, you are afraid of this movie because if you had a child, you would be worrying for your daughter. But would you? Who is Reagan's family in this movie? Are they the average people? No! They are fucking rich white people! The mother is a movie star, they are living in a mansion, and their storyline is also chopped as the priest's mother, because fun time they are living here and the daughter just gets a horse because her love interest has one. Yes, she has a love interest despite being 12. Lolita and that era. Still not left behind entirely. The next minute they sold their house where they were planning to go home in the previous scene, and now they are going to Europe for a vacation, or maybe they were planning to visit the father of Reagan. There was probably a divorce. But why and how this works, nothing is explained to us. So it's bloody choppy. And what is happening is rich people's problem. First world problem. Your daughter won't be possessed by Satan because you don't have a famous daughter. You are not a movie star. You don't sell $500,000 houses. And I have more plot points to complain about. What was with the pagan statue? From later installments we know this is Pazuzu. And after finding that, Father Marin has a conversation, if we can call it that, with some official, and he says a line, fighting evil with evil. How that integrates into the story? Because I don't see any trace of that. Or what's with the Ouija board? I see this satanic panic connection, but It's very vague. Nothing is confirmed. What even is this? But okay, let's say it's audible. What does a Middle Eastern pagan deity do in Washington, D.C., the American continent, North American continent? I have no idea. Or there is this one-time face shot at 40-30. Obviously that is supposed to be the human face of the pagan statue Father Mary found at the beginning. I think. But it is even just for a fraction of the moment, like, you know, Fight Club points to the corner, so you notice what they are talking about, the cigarette sign. So why is this even here when half of the audience won't even notice it? Apparently no reason. And there is this trope with the exorcism movies and writings that you only exorcise Christians if you are a Christian. But this family is atheist. What's up with that? The mother's motivation is even unclear because the doctors, medical professionals, sent her to the priesthood, but when she gets there and asks for the exorcism, she behaves like a Christian, devout Christian. But we declared her as atheist. So what is going on here? Bad writing that is going on here. Though when the priest rejects her request, that's a good moment, because you feel for the woman who is falling between clergy and the scientists, and no one wants to bother with her for one reason or the other. The scientists gave up, and the clerics tried to distance themselves from the superstitious past. But, you know, it would work better if she had the original motivation that she only goes to the priest because the medical staff gave up on her. The exorcism itself is not very interesting, if I have to be honest. The old priest reads the Bible, the POV priest does his own thing, that's kind of fine, but nothing really happens. The old priest is just there, and it is over before it started, and the old priest dies for excitement or heart attack, something one of the other, and the POV priest gets possessed and commits unaliving. You know, that's why you had to bring 2,000 pigs. You should have come prepared. Now, one interesting thing hit me when I was watching it this time. I saw this movie like 2 or 3 times. Is okay, the girl is, you know, this prepubescent, sexuality, then whatever. But what's with the priest's sexuality? I think he's homosexual. Why do I think that? Okay, no woman in his life and no kids around. Oh, that's we can prescribe it for him being a Catholic priest. That brief moment where he accuses devil worship, the other Christian denomination, that's a fun moment. But there are 2 instances when he gets kind of interesting interactions with 2 other male characters. One is the head of the police investigation, which goes nowhere, of course. It is just padding. The detective offers him going to the movies together. That's a weird thing. I see the attempt for the bribe, but going together? I see that it's kind of, it's circumstantial. Before this, and this just strengthened my opinion, there is the other priest who is the friend of, or POV priest. Father Karras has a friend, a priest friend. That's nothing suspicious, of course, but when they first meet, their gestures are kinda intimate. It's suggestive, like the first facial expressions of Linda Bear, I mean Reagan the character, with her tongue slipping through her teeth and all that, you know. Mm. The here between the priest is light touch on the arm and closeness of the faces. So what if the film is not just the prepubescent sexuality of the possessed person, but also the exorcist? What if the temptation is even for the old person who dies because of the sexual temptation of this very explicit material, the masturbation with the cross, and all that tongue flipping and the root talks. So I feel kind of substantiated, at least investigating the possibility that Father Karras is a gay character whose arc is that even though he gets tempted and like Psycho has mother issues, he gets over it and gets martyrdom as Christ rising over the temptation of sexuality, even if it comes from a 12-year-old child. It was the 70s, and the Bible says 4 years old are legit to rape into marriage, so it's Christianity for you. Especially evangelical Christianity, who always try to push the legislation to marry their own cousins and marriage without age restriction. USA is a Christian nation in that sense. Evangelical fundamental Christians are trying. So I say The Exorcist is a 5 out of 10. You can watch it, but it's not really rise up to the hype. Not at all. If I'm being honest, this movie feels like the M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender. It's just the runtime for the director was just not enough.